2495 Getaway Driver. There was a crack in the windshield where the thug's body hit it, but other than that, the PTV seemed fine. It started, at least, and sped away into the rain without problem, leaving the three corpses behind. Sunny was driving, Saint was sitting stiffly in the passenger seat, while Morgan stretched on the backseat. She looked around and grimaced. "This is your PTV?" Sunny looked at her through the rearview mirror. "Sure, it trembles and roars like a dying abomination, but gets the job done." "Actually," he smiled smugly, "it uses flammable fuel and propels itself with a series of tiny explosions." "Wild, did you know?" Morgan gave him a long look. "Are you describing how an internal combustion engine works?" "Of course, I know. It is one of the most important milestones in the history of technological development." "Who wouldn't know that?" Sunny's smile dimmed. "You are no fun. Not everyone has time to study the history of technological development, damn it." At that moment, Saint, who had remained silent that whole time, finally spoke. "Excuse me, but is it okay to just leave 3 dead bodies behind?" Sunny gave her a brief glance. 7. Saint arched her exquisite eyebrow, a silent question in her eyes. He shrugged. "Didn't you hear Morgan saying that someone sent 4 people to deal with her? So, there are 7 corpses, not 3. She wouldn't have let them live." Sprawled comfortably on the backseat, Morgan nodded nonchalantly. Sunny gave Saint a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, though, the rain will wash away all the traces. It might even wash away the bodies. Those in the hospital will stay where they are, of course, but that is not a problem either. Valor Group will never allow the news that their heiress massacred 4 people and escaped a mental asylum to spread. They won't let the news that Morgan even was in a mental asylum spread. So, the investigation will be handled." He did not add that the mental asylum in question was a shady place in and of itself. Considering how affluent the families of its patients were, what happened within its walls stayed within its walls, most likely. He was sure that many horror stories no one ever learned about had taken place in the private wing of Saint's workplace. Well, maybe not. Other Mordred's fantasy was that of a nice and friendly place where his family loved him and prospered, after all. Why would he have imagined a dirty, rotten city where dark and ugly things happened in the shadows? Then again, Sunny did not know a lot about the other Mordred. If the original Prince of Nothing had been split in 2, it would have happened when he was 12. Before that, he had been given away by his father and raised by Astarion in the Dream Realm. Who knew what his childhood had looked like, and what his idea of a nice place was? But if Mordred's good twin had not imagined Migh City as a dark city full of injustice and corruption, the question was, who had made this place into a twisted garden of sin? Whose thoughts had the Castellan faithfully woven into the fabric of the Palace of Imagination to change it into a den of horrors? It could have been the real Mordred. That guy's head was full of nothing but vile and ghastly things, gods knew. What was it that he had told Sunny once? A mirror could only reflect what was in front of it. Was it his fault that the things in front of him were cruel, vile, and deceitful? But it could have been someone other than Mordred, as well. It could have been Morgan, or Effie. It could have even been Sunny himself. All 3 of them had come from a world where nightmares were real. All 3 had spent most of their adult lives spilling blood and crawling through the bloody mud of numerous battlefields. They had killed numerous living beings, monsters and humans alike, and experienced far too many terrible things not to be changed by these experiences. Maybe Mirage City had become the dark, dirty, deadly place it was today because none of them could imagine a world that was anything but. Sunny groaned slightly. It was not because of this brief moment of self-reflection, rather, it was because the wound he had hurriedly patched up before rushing to find Saint opened sometime during the recent fight, and was seeping with blood. Saint lowered her gaze and noticed the blood stain slowly spreading across the black fabric of his shirt. She frowned, a hint of unhappiness twisting the beautiful lines of her bewitching face. "You are bleeding. Why are you bleeding?" Sunny forced out a smile. "Oh, it's nothing. I was stabbed." Her eyes widened slightly. "What? But I did not see you being hit during the confrontation with those people." Sunny waved a hand dismissively. "No, not by one of those amateurs. And it wasn't the professional, deadly, highly skilled assassin sent to kill me. I threw that guy out of a window." He turned his head to glance at Morgan and grinned. "I was stabbed by her brother. After I dealt with the assassin and before I dealt with the amateurs." Morgan grinned. "Busy day for you, huh?" Sunny shrugged nonchalantly. Saint, meanwhile, seemed to be struggling with maintaining her aloof exterior. Her eyelashes, at least, quaked a little. You were stabbed, by the CEO of the Valor Group. Sunny chuckled. No, not him, his evil twin from the real world. Morgan's relaxed gaze grew sharper all of a sudden. Oh, you've met him, then? Sunny nodded. I did, and he stabbed me. Ah, but don't misunderstand, I wasn't the only one bleeding when we parted. Saint looked at him, then to Morgan. Then, she looked back at him and bit her lip, as if unsure whether to say something. In the end, however, her indignation seemed to have defeated her taciturn personality. Excuse me, is that important right now? Miss Morgan, why are you playing along with his bizarre statements? Did you not hear what Detective Sunless said? An evil twin from the real world. Why is your reaction so lackluster? Morgan gave her a strange look and blinked a couple of times. After a few moments of silence, she shrugged. Because everything he said is true. The man playing the CEO role in this illusory realm, my brother, has a murderous twin from the real world. Who, I guess, is also my brother. She shifted her gaze to Sunny and asked in a confused tone. Does she not remember anything? Then, Morgan frowned and looked at Saint. And since when is the Lord of Shadows, the dark sovereign of humanity, the commander of an undying legion of dead souls, a detective? Saint inhaled slowly, closed her eyes for a moment, and then turned to the window. Sunny could just barely hear her mumble under her nose. Shared delusional disorder, it must be. Fascinating. 2496 between the cracks. With Saint seemingly falling into a daze, Sunny threw a glance into the rearview mirror and studied Morgan for a few moments. The Princess of Valor looked different from how she had been before. Morgan had always given off a sharp and deadly aura, and all her actions had been calculated and precise. She had carried herself with the reserved elegance of a born noble, maintaining a neat appearance in all circumstances. She had been a person who preferred to maintain strict control of both herself and everything around her at all times. That Morgan would have never allowed herself to sprawl on the backseat of a ramshackle PTV in a perfectly comfortable pose, not even trying to maintain the rules of decorum. She was still sharp and dangerous, just much more relaxed and at ease. As if she could not be bothered to care anymore. Granted, Morgan still managed to look elegant and like she owned the place even when wearing a nurse uniform and lounging in a rusty PTV. It was just that she brimmed with a decadent kind of elegance now instead of her usual refined poise. Sunny sighed. So, why did Mordred come here, and why did you follow him to Mirage City? All the pieces to the odd puzzle of the Great Mirror were held by three people: Mordred, the other Mordred, and Morgan, the children of the late King of Swords. King of Swords. Sunny tensed. He was not going to receive two "you killed my father" speeches in one day, was he? Luckily, Morgan seemed entirely indifferent to the fact that she was sitting next to her father's killer. Hearing his question, she lingered for a few moments, then smiled. You got it all wrong, Sunless. It wasn't me who followed Mordred here. It was the other way around. Sunny raised an eyebrow. You entered the Great Mirror first. Morgan nodded. Back then, after you and Nefis killed Ki Song and my father, things were in utter chaos for the first few months, weren't they? Sunny nodded. The first months of the newly established human domain had indeed been hectic. After all, it was not easy to build a new world order on the ruins of an old one. Luckily, they had received a lot of help. Ironically enough, the legacy clans had played an important part in putting the world back on track. The government had been nothing short of instrumental, as well, with Jet mobilizing the great bureaucracies of its various arms to smooth out the transition. Effie had taken control of the Sword Domain and Bastion. Kai had taken over the Song Domain and Ravenhay ART. Morgan had spent those first few months there with him, helping the charming archer build a solid foundation for his future rule. Then, she disappeared without a trace. Sunny frowned. What about them? Morgan shrugged lazily. While you were busy conquering the world, well, Nefis was busy conquering the world. You were busy playing dead. Congratulations on your resurrection, by the way. Sunny smiled. You don't sound that surprised. Morgan deigned him with a scoff. Please. Learning that the comely master I had knighted was the Lord of Shadows was a bit of a shock. Inferring that you did not really turn on Nefis or die by her sword was a piece of cake. Sunny grimaced. Almost everyone else truly believes that I'm dead, you know. She shrugged. Everyone else is not me. Anyway, while the two of you were busy putting out numerous fires and dealing with the fallout of the war, Mordred and I were busy doing something else. The King of Swords and the Queen of Worms had left certain things behind, things that very few people knew existed, and even fewer were in a position to retrieve. Morgan sighed. Mordred plundered our father's secret inheritance while hunting down the members of the extended Valor family. I tried to intercept them and extend at least some measure of protection, but, you should know that man by now. He is elusive, indestructible, and utterly deadly. And I was not in the position to protect anyone, really. I was busy trying to stay alive myself. She remained silent for a few moments, then shook her head. So, I plundered pieces of Kisong's inheritance instead. Her daughters got to most of it eventually, but I had the advantage of being in Ravenheart before they returned, due to being kidnapped by Nightingale. Morgan paused, then asked in an indifferent tone. How is he doing, by the way? Sunny smiled. Who, that guy? Oh, he's doing great. Better than anyone with a drop of shame would have the audacity to, really. He lives in a stunning palace, surrounded by stunning transcendent princesses from all sides. It's like a flower garden. What's not to love? Somehow, Morgan did not seem particularly glad to hear that. I guess she is still resentful of Kai because of the kidnapping. Sunny shook his head. He knew a thing or two about spite, but some people were just too vindictive. So what was it that Kisong left behind? Morgan remained silent for a few moments, then shrugged somberly. This and that. Information, among other things. For example, she left behind a piece of information I was aiming to find, to begin with. I knew that Mordred would come for me sooner or later. I also knew that Kisong would have never accepted him into the Song domain without investigating possible countermeasures against his betrayal first. Turns out, she managed to learn more about my brother than even our father had. She smiled faintly. Our father tried to obliterate Mordred quite thoroughly, you know. His body was destroyed, his soul was destroyed, too. But he still refused to die, maybe because his reflections remained intact. In the end, all we could do was imprison him in a mirror trap. Well, as it turns out. Morgan looked out the window at the vista of the Mirage City and exhaled slowly. Turns out, he couldn't be killed because his death was somewhere else. My brother Mordred was split apart when he conquered the first nightmare. Different versions of him inherited different parts of his being, and only one of them inherited his death. She raised a hand and pointed at the lights of the sprawling city. He must have brought that version to the Great Mirror after returning to Bastion, and hid him inside. Morgan turned to Sunny and smiled. So, you see, if we kill the CEO of the Valor Group, we can finally be rid of my dear brother once and for all. 2497 The ones who walk away. Hearing that, Saint finally looked away from the vista of the drowning city outside the window. She stared at Morgan coldly for a few moments, then turned to glance at Sunny. A faint crease appeared on her brow. Even if she did not say anything, Sunny could imagine what she was thinking. Enough is enough. Be happily crazy together all you want, but if you start discussing plans of assassinating someone, I am calling the police. Single quote. Wait, he is the police. Sunny cleared his throat and focused on the road. She is not wrong. He remained silent for a while, then asked in a neutral tone. Is that how you ended up locked in an asylum? You tried to kill the other Mordred? Morgan pursed her lips, then let out a sigh. Yes, sadly, I failed. Her expression grew a little wistful. Kisong might have found out about my brother's flaw and where he had hidden it, but she did not know a lot about the Great Mirror, let alone about what is hidden on its other side. So, finding myself in Mirage City was quite a novel experience. Suddenly becoming mundane again was a difficult transition, as well. Morgan looked at her hands. Plus, I was severely wounded while trying to sneak past the cursed demon you had deposited in True Bastion. Soul damage, mental damage, you name it. I was in rough shape, and Mordred, the real Mordred, was on my heels. So, I might have acted a little hasty. Her expression soured. Killing the most powerful man in Mirage City as a mundane person turned out to be more difficult than I expected. He is protected incredibly well, with an army of bodyguards following him day and night, both in plain view and hidden. Well, anyway, he survived. I thought I'd be disposed of right there and then, but he must have grown attached to my false self. He looked quite distressed, even. Morgan scoffed. You'll find it hard to believe, but I did not end up in that mental hospital because he wanted to get rid of me quietly. There were no nefarious reasons behind his decision to commit me to a psychiatric facility whatsoever. Rather, he seemed to harbor genuine hope that I would be fixed and return to how my counterpart was before. She shook her head. That guy, something is not right with him. He is not quite as twisted as the real one, but he is definitely not entirely there. Sunny smiled crookedly. You do remember that you just escaped from a mental hospital. Should you really be going around calling people insane? Morgan chuckled. Fair. Quote. Sunny lingered for a few moments. You seem to have escaped quite easily, though. I suspect that you could have left that place whenever you wanted. So why did you stay? She shrugged. Because for a while, it was the safest place for me to be. The other Mordred might have spared me, but the real one was still out there, determined to finish what he had started during the Battle of the Black Skull. I was laying low and gathering information about Mirage City, until my fortress suddenly wasn't that safe anymore. It was time to leave. Sunny frowned. Wait, but how did you regain your sense of self, to begin with? There was no Effie around to make you remember. Was it because you were the ruler of Bastion, at some point? Morgan smiled, then shook her head. No, it was because I killed my reflection a long time ago. Sunny raised an eyebrow. What? She chuckled. Long before my awakening, my father brought me in front of the Great Mirror, its false version in the illusory Bastion, and made me fight my reflection until one of us was destroyed. That is why this place has a weaker hold on me than it had on you. I suspect that my brother is the same. Huh, Sunny smiled darkly. And I thought I couldn't despise Anvil anymore. He lingered for a while, then shook his head. Anyway, we can't kill the other Mordred. At least not yet. Morgan pierced him with a sharp look. And why is that? He hesitated for a while, trying to put his thoughts into words. Eventually, Sunny said, well, first of all, he has been living here for the past 2 decades. And from the looks of it, and believe me, I can't quite believe I'm saying it, this version of Mordred seems like a nice guy. He's an innocent bystander, so what right do we have to kill him? Morgan laughed. Wait, what is this? Are you really giving me the world is not worth saving if the price of saving it is a tear of an innocent child speech? Hey, this is Mirage City, not Amalas, and you are the Lord of Shadows, not Ivan Karamazov. It's a nice sentiment, how very noble of you, wanting to spare him. I'm in awe, but will you take responsibility when the next House of Night massacre happens? Sunny frowned. Oh, please, don't pretend like you care about what happened to the House of Night. Gods know your own hands are not exactly clean either. You've committed your own share of despicable deeds, Princess of Valor. He sighed. But I see your point. Not that I know what omelets and I can't even pronounce the second one you're talking about, mind you. No need to swing your legacy education around, okay. In any case, why would I take responsibility for something your crazy brother does? Sunny shook his head. Anyway, that is not the real reason why we can't kill the other Mordred. He has to stay alive because he is the axis of Mirage City. This whole place has been created by the Castellan, the chief reflection who serves as the custodian of the Great Mirror, to suit his fantasies. Even if there are foreign influences twisting the fabric of Mirage City now, its foundation is still what your other brother has imagined. He looked at the city lights flying past the window of the PTV and grimaced. Do you see the problem here? Whose imagination will become the foundation of this illusory realm if the other Mordred is removed? Will it be you, me? Do you even know what kind of horrors dwell in our imagination, Morgan? I don't know about you, but I've seen things so dreadful that merely witnessing them will instantly shatter the minds and extinguish the souls of mundane people. And I have quite an active imagination on top of that. Sunny let out a joyless laugh. Imagination seems like a whimsical power, a sweet and fanciful power that makes dreams and fantasies come true. But when you think about it, it is perhaps the most harrowing thing in existence. Because one can imagine horrors, too, and unlike reality, imagination has no limits. Mirage, the demon of imagination, had always seemed obscure when compared to her more prominent siblings, so Sunny never really considered her that deeply. He did not know a lot about her, either. But now that he was inside her abandoned palace, he was starting to suspect that she had been no less sinister and frightening, perhaps much more so, than the rest of the demons. No wonder the moon itself had to be shattered just to bring down her castle. He shook his head. The point is, we do not even know how to escape the Great Mirror. Effie does not have full control of the Palace of Imagination because the damn Castellan has gone rampant and usurped the role of the castle master. So, until we find the Castellan and deal with it, the other Mordred has to stay alive. Sunny looked at the rearview mirror, looking into Morgan's glowing vermilion eyes. We'll decide what to do with him then. Understood. Morgan remained silent for a while, then scoffed. Well, if you put it like that. She paused and shivered visibly. Yeah, let's keep him alive, for now. We can't risk letting Athena's imagination run wild in this place. That simply cannot happen, no matter what.